You're listening to A Seat at the Tech Table, a podcast by Sisters in Tech, hosted by Anna and Esther Kofarigi. This podcast highlights the experiences of Black women working and thriving in the tech industry. You'll learn about how they found their paths into tech, and hopefully you'll be inspired to consider whether there's a seat for you at the tech table.
Today's guest is Samantha Imafidon, a London-based cloud solution architect.
Hi, Samantha.
Hi, girls. How are you?
Good.
How are you?
Excited to speak with you.
Yeah, I'm amazing. Thanks so much for inviting me. So amazing to be on your podcast today. Excited, should I say. I'm excited for the conversation that we're about to have. But yeah, lovely to meet you.
Amazing.
Lovely to meet you.
Okay, let's get straight into it. So welcome to A Seat at the Tech Table. Briefly tell us about yourself, who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
Thank you. So I'm Samantha. Hi, everyone. Like the girls said, I'm based in London, but I'm originally Nigerian. I currently work as a cloud solution architect, and I've been working in tech for about 3 years now at a large tech company. I describe myself as a tech creative. So I'm quite a logical thinker. I enjoy technology and what you can create with it and the impacts that technology can have. But outside of that, I love to create digital art and sing and songwrite as well. So I class myself as someone that kind of has multiple interests. But at the moment, technology is what's leading the front. So by day, I'm working as a cloud solution architect. By night, I'm creating, whether that's creating content for my platform, Becoming Samantha, or whether it's just creating anything that I find and see as fun. So that's me at the moment.
Awesome. Okay, that's a nice intro. Thank you for introducing yourself. Okay, let's take it a bit back. Just give us a bit of an idea of like your interest when you were younger. What does that look like?
Yeah, definitely. So I think when I was younger, I had multiple interests. Maths was definitely something I saw as a bit of a game, and I picked up quite quickly. But I think outside of that, I also enjoyed sports. I enjoyed languages. And, I think it took me a really long time to kind of have that one focus that I felt like everybody around me kind of had. Where, people were kind of like, oh, they knew, I don't know, they kind of wanted to be doctors, or I don't know, they wanted to be artists or whatever it was. I felt like I, from a very young age, had a lot of different interests, and it was really just me exploring all of that. But I think, maths definitely took the forefront in my early life, and it taught me how to really problem solve. And I think it teaches you how to think in a way as well. And I think technology came into play a bit after, maybe I would say in my teenage years. And that's purely because of people who were in my life who kind of exposed me to particular opportunities. But then I also think it's because I started attending events, things like hackathons, where I could really see how you could bring to life an idea that you had in your head. So what I always say to people is that, maths taught me, how to think logically. And I saw technology as really the ability to problem solve and bring your creations to life and kind of create solutions to those problems. So I think, I had quite a varied interest in childhood, but I think I actually never knew at all what I wanted to be and where I was going with, my life. And people sometimes have this perception that you've always wanted to know, or, you struggle because you look at people around and, it kind of looks like they've got their life together. But I think for a long time, I had no idea. So, it can be a bit of a tricky situation when you're kind of questioning, what am I here to do? What is all of this for? Am I, wasting my time? Is there anything that I actually do truly enjoy? So I definitely had a long period where I was kind of asking myself all these questions, and, it was tough. difficult, but I'm very happy that I found technology and that I'm in this space today.
Awesome. Okay, no, we're definitely going to get into kind of like the journey and the route into tech as part of this conversation. But I think I'm just kind of interested in the moment that technology was introduced. So obviously you said earlier on it was mathematics, and then technology kind of bridged the gap for you to kind of see things come to life in terms of like bringing solving a problem. When about like what stage of your life did technology begin to be at the forefront of something you were interested
in? Yeah, I think it was definitely like I said, my teenage years. I think I would say towards maybe year 9 or year 10, so maybe when I was like 13, 14, I think it is, that around that age, that's when I was truly like, okay, what am I actually doing? Because geography, I also liked geography at one point. I was definitely all over the place, and I thought, oh, okay, maybe geography is the thing I'm going to go away and do. But then I was like, okay, but what would then be next? What would I actually be working as? So I think going to the events people exposed me to and really just jumping at every opportunity allowed me to dig deeper into what opportunities are actually in tech. So there were kind of particular work experiences that I went on at different institutions and just kind of spoke to people, kind of just looked at what they did. I was like, oh, okay, so this is what people in tech kind of do for work. And I remember there was an institution I went to and they were kind of working on the very early stages and developments of like Alexa. And that was amazing. That really did open my eyes to like, okay, technology is definitely a space that I could work in, and also it can be super fun and you can be working on these kind of cutting edge technologies, and that's super cool, right? And I don't know whether I'd ever thought or considered how much your career or what you do in life should be linked to enjoyment, because I think going through education, you're just doing you're there for the exams, and coming up in African households, Nigerian households, you're there to do the work, read your book, face your book, all of that. So it's kind of like, okay, enjoyment. So there's an option for me to enjoy what I'm doing. Natural path, people are working in big companies, earning all this money. So I think it was a mixture of going into to do specific work experiences, and like I said, attending things like hackathons, like that really changed the game, where I had never heard of a hackathon before in my whole life, and I attended and I thought it was the people who were in the films, who are like the cracking the code at the back, I thought that's what the whole experience was meant to be about. It was meant to be like security, trying to break codes and all of this. And it's absolutely not the thing. You go and there's all this community and all these different people who have different levels of expertise in tech, who have coded before, who have not coded before. And it's coming together in one event. Maybe it's a weekend long, or a couple of days, and you find your teams, you join a team, and then you just start working on something, you just start building, right? And then at the end of it, you come and present on what it is that you've actually created together as a team. And I just thought that's like, wow, like I just didn't think at that time people really saw or took technology as an option, or it wasn't a traditional route to go down. You're not a doctor, you're not a lawyer, he's not really an engineer. There are software engineers, but so I think mix of both kind of work experiences, talking to people, seeing these things, going to events, is when it started to hit me that, oh, okay, this could definitely be an option, for me.
I think I can totally understand and relate to what you're saying in terms of like growing up. Like, I think even the fact that you were thinking about your career quite earlier on in your life kind of is interesting, because I feel like there's a certain amount of pressure on us to have things figured out from early in our life. And it's just like, we're so young that we have no clue what exactly our life is going to look like, or the directions and journey we're going to go on. But it's interesting that you were able to kind of be quite focused and think quite carefully about what are the things that you can see yourself doing and later on in life. So yeah, super interesting.
Just to hatch onto that point, I think the people around you do make a huge difference to, the early stages in your life, but then also to an extent where you do end up. So I think my mindset and my thinking was molded by that, and I think generally I've always been around and been friends with people who were kind of older than me and things like that. So I think that's part of why I even started to think of things like that. But you'll also be surprised how many institutions do offer these experiences for people who are in school, who are in primary school, who, are pre-university to help you start thinking and molding ideas about what you could do for jobs. So yeah, I definitely agree. I think there's a lot of pressure when you're young. You're still finding yourself and figuring out what all of this means in life. But yeah, two things: the people you're around and you're exposed to, and just keeping your eyes out for opportunities and just jumping in, especially when you don't have what you want to do. It's just like, that's great. Then jump at every opportunity and try everything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I can completely see that. And I really like what you're saying about, so in some cases you can be lucky, I guess, and have people around you, either kind of family connections or just community connections that can expose you to certain things. But if you don't, as you say, you've always got the option to kind of expose yourself to things and pursue internships and pursue other opportunities like that in order so that you get those people and experiences around you. So that's super important. So I'd love to kind of dig into your kind of educational background, because I think it's always interesting what people study. You studied computer science, and as much as we always say that you don't have to study computer science to get into tech, you did. So I'd love to know about your experience of studying it and how you think it kind of impacted your later life.
Yeah. Great question. So I never could have predicted that I would go away to study computer science, because I had very little exposure to, coding to an extent. Like I would go to hackathons and I, might try some things in my spare time. But there's a lot of people who go away to study computer science who have been studying it, their whole life before they've come to, get a formal qualification. So, I never expected to, but I think being exposed to the opportunities, like I spoke to you both about already, I think that's kind of what did really open my mind and say, okay, maybe I should just go away and study computer science. Because at a point I was saying, I did want to do geography. So yeah, I think I didn't expect to study it. I did end up going to study it, and it was a very interesting experience in that there were definitely roller coasters of emotions. Computer science is not an easy degree, and the nature of, I think, doing any kind of undergraduate degree, master's degree, PhD, whatever it is, it can be very, very intense, because you're learning quickly, and you might have some choice on what you're learning, later on in your education, master's, PhD, but sometimes I think undergraduate, a lot of it is kind of like content that's chosen for you. So it might not always be what you specifically enjoy. So I think computer science was a journey. It was hard. I think there was a lot of kind of back end programming that was focused on rather than the front end part. And I think that's what I didn't enjoy as much. But I would say that it taught you resilience, okay? Because coding is hard, okay? It can definitely be hard, where you're spending hours trying to find why there's an error in your code. And it's not even hours, it can be days, right? And, I think sometimes it feels like soul destroying, because it's you and your computer screen. It's you and your computer screen, and it's like, right, you need to figure this out. So you do need to be resilient. You do need to be able to ask for help from people around you, but then also be resourceful, use information online. And I think that's really what the experience taught me, to be resilient, to know how to ask the right questions, and also how to I guess, get deeper into thinking logically, because coding is all about how you can communicate with a computer to perform the task that you want it to perform. And if you do not break things down to very bite-sized chunks, it's very hard for, the computer to understand you. So, I think it tests your understanding and your ability to communicate. It tests your ability to be resilient. It tests your patience. And, there's so much that the degree can teach you. But I would say, it definitely was hard. And I think the experience molded me as a person. But I think when I got the opportunity to go into industry and, I applied for an internship between my second and third year from in my summer to do basically coding at a bank, I was kind of like, oh, right, this is really it. So I've studied and now this is coding in the workplace. And I just knew I did not enjoy it. I like technology, I like what you can create with it, but I knew that coding 9 to 5 was just not going to be it for me. So yeah, in a summary, that's computer science, but I still do tell people today that it's a very valuable degree, and I don't think that's going to change. But I just don't want anyone to go in thinking it's going to be easy, because it's really not. There will be parts you enjoy more than others, and I think anyone that comes out with a computer science degree, I'm clapping for you, because it's not easy at all. You will go through tough times, and that's with most degrees, right? But I'm just speaking from my own experience.
No, I've heard a lot about computer science, to be honest. I heard it's like an extremely difficult degree. Yeah. And I just want to kind of pick out something that you didn't really get into, but I'm just speaking on it from my own experience. So I've studied a human-computer interaction master's. I remember walking into that degree and being quite shocked at the lack of representation on the course. And I guess that's definitely what rooted and birthed Sisters in Tech. So I just kind of want to get a bit of a sense of how that was for you and your experience doing the degree with others in your course.
Yeah, definitely. You're completely right. I think with most computer science degrees across the country, if not across the world, being female, let alone being a Black female, just expect to be in the minority. It's unfortunate, but I do think, and I do hope and pray that things will change moving forward, because there are so many more people that are interested in tech and wanting to get into tech. But I definitely think that lack of representation, immediately follows into industry as well, right? Because there's not enough women studying computer science, let alone Black women. And then it's the same thing going into industry. So I think the pipeline issue is there. And, I think that can even make your time and experience even harder, right? Because if you don't see people who you can maybe relate to, or are, willing to help you because they know the struggle, it can definitely feel maybe isolating at times. But then I think this is what I was saying about, it teaches you to be resourceful and to just push to ask for help, because you realize you can't do things yourself. So whether the next person looks like you or not, you go in, you find the answers, because you need to find the answers. So it's definitely unfortunate. And, hopefully things do change, but I do think it makes you stronger as a person as well. And, the typical kind of person, is, white and male. And I have nothing against white males, right? But some of them, I think, have this persona, the typical kind of computer science kid student, right? The people who have been doing this since, they popped out the womb. Some of them, I think, do have a bit of, I don't know how to describe it. I'm trying not to be offensive to people, but they don't like to help people. They're not necessarily team players, and think they know it all when that's not possible. So you definitely have to find a tribe, right?
Yes,
And find
absolutely.
people who, are going to help and support you.
Yeah, super cool. And I'm just going to kind of jump back to what you were saying about coding and kind of the challenges of kind of staying up nights and kind of fix an error in your code. And I think that really, for me, what that really kind of reveals is there's a personality type that's going to kind of tend towards that type of work. Because to be honest, I spent like a year working as an engineer, and I actually loved that part of it. I liked kind of battling with the code to make it do what I want. And I feel like if someone has that in them, then they can possibly pursue that. So I think it's really important for people to consider their personality when thinking about which jobs and which roles they want to take on.
100%. You're so right. And I think, I don't want to scare people into not doing computer science, because like I said, it's a very valuable degree. You will have times where you just don't get the code and you might be struggling for days, but then the times and the days that you crack the code, nobody can talk to you any kind of way, because you feel like you're on top of the world, like give me 48 hours, hold the press, because you're like, oh my gosh, I have solved world hunger because this colon that was missing, I have found the line of code. You know what I mean? That sense, that feeling, you can't pay. That's priceless, right? So definitely, if you're a very determined person and you like that challenge, like you're talking about, like, this is going to be fantastic for you, definitely do pursue it. If you're really resilient, if you love to create things, if you're someone that loves to question how things work, it's definitely a great path for you to go down. I think for me, while I have one side of my head that's like logical, I also do like to talk to people as well. And I think, while I think coding in industry, you still do need to work in a team, and, you still will be talking with people. I think I wanted to have a good mixture of both sides, where I could still use my logical side and still be able to speak to people about technology. So that's why I kind of wanted to move away from just the engineering side of things and focus a bit more on the, the people side, right? And, thank God, I found the kind of client-facing side of tech, which is where I'm kind of based now. And this is what suits me best, right? So you just definitely, like what you said, you've got to find what suits you. Who are you as a person? What do you enjoy and what do you not? And then start figuring out, where you want to end up.
Yeah. And another piece I want to emphasize from what you said is what you said about how your mathematics interest and kind of studies taught you kind of, or began to teach you logical thinking. And then your kind of computer science degree taught you resilience. And I love this sense of kind of everything you learn being building blocks and kind of building you up to be the person that you're meant to be. So I just wanted to kind of highlight that as well. That's cool.
I love that. Yeah, for sure. Like we are all unique individuals. There's all value that we can bring, and that a lot of that is based on your experiences, that we've all individually gone through. So I completely agree with you that, people say you have no regrets and stuff like that. And, I think there are still things in my life, if I look back, I would maybe do differently. But at the same time, I am who I am today, and I am where I am today as well, because of the experiences that I have had to get me to this point. So yeah, completely agree.
And you touched on them a bit, but you did a number of internships. And I think that's one of the things I look back on in my uni days, and I didn't do any internships. I did a lot of kind of extracurricular activities, but not internships. So I'd love you to speak about kind of what you think the value of internships are and kind of any advice for people pursuing those.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. So internships is definitely such an amazing thing, an amazing opportunity for you to do, even outside of the fact of having a company on your CV, so outside of that, it gives you the opportunity to give something a go, right? You get the opportunity to see whether you like something or see whether you don't before you jump fully in, and not everybody gets that opportunity, which is why it's amazing if you do. thing that I would say internships are incredible at helping you build is, a network. And a network is so important in tech, but I think across any industry, but especially in tech, because people talk, period, right? So if you're trying to look for a job, if you're trying to transition, if you know the right people, if you're talking to people, a job might open up for you because that person knows you, they know your skill sets, they know that you're looking for an opportunity. So network is really, really cool to start building when you've got internships. And then I think another thing, is being in the workplace as well, because I think you might have had like weekend jobs, maybe it's retail or, tutoring or mentoring or whatever it is. But I think being in the workplace is quite different. It's quite a different ball game. And I think, it does require a level of like professionalism and everything like that, how to send an email, all this kind of small etiquettes that I don't think people necessarily talk about. And the ability to develop your soft skills, this is something I've spoken about quite a lot on my platform. And, having internships gives you that step up to start developing all of that, where, you know how to communicate with, a manager, you know how to communicate potentially with a director, how to book in coffee calls with people, and, ask questions, raise your hand for opportunities that might be presented in and kind of just jump right in. And I think your internships definitely give you that confidence boost as well, that you've got that on your CV before you then go and, start working full time. So there's so many things that internships can give you. And it's a shame that more people aren't aware of that. I think even if it's just, a summer internship like I did, or spring internship, or whatever it is, if it's a 1 week work experience, whatever it is, I think it's still important to have, let alone people that are able to do a whole year in industry, that is so, so valuable, right? So I think it's hard when you're studying full time to sometimes remember that actually at the end of this, you need to get a job, right? So it's like you're working, you're staying up late, you're cracking your head for this assignment and that assignment. And you're like, okay, great. Like you've got this first class now, whatever, it's not then that you start thinking about, okay, what jobs can you apply to? You really have to start when you enter university. That's the truth. You have to start when you enter in first year, or even before then, start building connections. Because at the end of the day, yes, you are studying, but you need a job at the end of it. So it's really that balance of, do your work, study, obviously do the very best that you can. But at the end of the day, a lot of companies actually don't really look at your certifications or whatever at the end of it. They just want to, like, have you got a degree? Okay, great. A lot of tech companies are saying that you don't even need a degree. Obviously, this is dependent on role now, but, there are things like apprenticeships where people just learn on the job and then, can kind of get a degree later if that's what they want to do. So anyway, sorry, back to your original question, because I feel like I've, kind of diverted off, but internships, really, really important, really useful things to have for a number of different reasons.
Love it. Okay, so post internships, your first role, or first full-time role, I guess, was at Microsoft. So tell us a bit about kind of the application process. I think applying for jobs is one of the most intimidating part of our working lives and stressful parts. So yeah, I'd love you to share about that process straight out of uni.
Yeah, for sure. So like I said, so internships are really helpful for a number of different reasons. You can network, you can build the soft skills, like I said, but another thing that people do internships for is to get grad offers at the end of the internship, right? So you get offered a graduate job before you've even finished studying. That's kind of one of the big selling points of doing internships. They can fast track you. So the internship I did was in a bank, and at the end of it, I didn't get offered a position. And it was interesting for two reasons. I didn't get offered, but I also kind of declined what they were going to offer me in the first place, because I knew it just wasn't for me, right? So at the end of that experience, I was thinking, right, well, here I am. I've done this summer internship. Have I wasted my time? Because I've not got a grad job now. So I'm now coming into my final year. My life is about to be a whole lot more stressful because I do not have a job guaranteed. So my journey for, I think, the end of summer to mid-autumn was really me trying to figure out how can I apply for a job, or how can I find a job in tech that's not focused on coding, while I'm also trying to finish my degree. So I did a lot of research. It was very like strenuous, for about 3 or 4 months, and Microsoft opportunity kind of popped up on one of the sites that I was looking at. And I almost didn't apply because I thought, oh, is this, or I almost had that kind of like, oh, am I good enough? Or is this for me, kind of thing. The questioning thing that you go through before actually applying. But I went ahead and I did apply, and I had like a phone interview. I had a video interview where you had to kind of send in pre-recorded messages. It was very interesting. And then after that, they invited me for an assessment center, which is, basically like an all-day interview. And I remember it was literally 9 till 5, one day in like December or November. And at the time in the UK it was snowing. So I was really thinking, oh, will they cancel this? Is this going to be, what's going to happen here? And I remember that week was crazy because I had 3 assignments due. At the time I was part of this a cappella group. So I was doing performances as well that week. And I had the Microsoft interview, right? So I was a crazy person, doing too much as always. and I remember, I was thinking, oh, they might cancel this because it was snowing. They didn't cancel it, right? So I made my way down to the headquarters, which is in Reading. And like I said, it was 9 till 5. So I had one presentation I had to deliver that I prepared before. And it was about, can I remember? It was about you picking a customer and then basically convincing them to buy one of Microsoft products, right? And it could be in any industry, but you had to convince them to buy it. So that was number one. Then I had 2 individual face-to-face interviews. It was just me and the person interviewing me. And then there was a group activity where it was me and like 3 other people discussing a task. And then there were like 4 people in the room just watching us and hearing what people were saying. Yeah, we had like a whiteboard and everything, and then they had a timer and stuff like that. So that was intense. And then there was like a bit of a networking, speed networking, right? So speed dating, but networking session as well, where we got to meet different people from the company and ask them questions and stuff like that. And then the day was over. They gave us a tour of the offices, and then they were like, yeah, we'll be in touch and stuff like that. And I found out I got the job maybe a couple of weeks later. I remember it was just before the new year, and I thought, wow, here we are. So that was the process. And yes, it's crazy that I did all of that while still studying. I mean, it's definitely intense. But that was the process. So.
Yeah, I honestly don't think anything beats like a tech interview. Honestly, like these tech organizations really have you stressed on the process.
Yeah, it's long. It's long. But I've heard worse. People have gone through more rounds than I did, and then maybe not even got the job. So that's intense.
Yeah. Okay, so you're currently a cloud solution architect at Microsoft. So like for those who don't know, can you just tell us what a cloud solution architect does and a bit about your current role?
Yeah, sure. So cloud computing is huge, first of all. Booming business. There are a number of like big players in the business at the moment. Microsoft is one of them, Amazon is one of them, and also Google. And essentially my role, it's a little bit different to the traditional cloud solution architect role. Essentially, it's a technical role. It's non-coding, and my responsibility is to upskill the customers that I have on the product that I own, as well as build a strategy of how I'm going to, or not just myself, but how me and some of my team are going to grow the use of the product in the UK as well. Now, I have a range of different conversations with the customers that I have. So part of it is upskilling them on what the product is, how to use it, how they themselves can kind of build platforms on it. And then I guess a bit of my work is a bit on kind of advisory. So I guess suggesting ways that they can use the product, helping them a little bit understand how the product connects with other products. So that's where a bit of the architecture side comes in, and really just helping them upskill, build the expertise, let them know what's new that might be coming, because technology is a very fast-paced environment. So there's no one that can kind of stay on top of it all. And so people, will kind of look to me and be like, okay, this is your product. You're like, the SME, the specialist, the expert in this product. Like, what's going on? Can you tell us this? Can we do this? Is there this feature coming? Is there this? What exam should we be doing? Can we have a conversation about this? You're kind of that technical resource. So that's what my role is. But I feel like there are a range of different cloud solution architect roles, and I feel like mine is a little bit not like the traditional type. So yeah.
Okay, so just on what you've just said, who are your clients? So who are the people you're advising or kind of like upskilling?
Yeah, so Microsoft has a number of different customers, right? So they've got kind of large institutions, they've got, retail customers, they've got, the healthcare customers, they've got banks, so many. And those are kind of really big institutions that they do a lot of business with. And then they've also got institutions who kind of build on top of the products that they already have built, called Microsoft Partners. And a lot of the work that Microsoft does, it does not have enough people to meet every single customer.
Right, yeah.
Makes sense, right? So to help them scale, Microsoft Partners become really, really important. And they are my customers, basically, right? So I think there's like 20,000 partners in a region. Is it in the UK? It might even be in the UK. And there's about 200 of them that are particularly kind of looked after. And out of that 200, I think I've got maybe 6 that I'm working on at the moment. But yeah, Microsoft partners that people may have heard of: Accenture, BT, Fujitsu, there's so many different ones. But yeah, I work across a few.
Okay, so you started Microsoft as a technical account manager, and now you are a cloud solution architect. What attracted you to this role specifically, and how did you transition into this role?
Great question. Yeah, so as part of my grad scheme, I was a technical account manager, and as part of the grad scheme as well, you don't really choose what role you go into, right? So you're kind of in a stream, and then when you go to the interview, they kind of match you to a role, right? So technical account manager, TAM, is what I was positioned in, and I was basically looking after end clients. So like some of those retail, health, whatever, but I was positioned in finance to begin with. So I had a few insurance firms, and I was basically their escalation point, but also helping them get the most out of the contract that they had with Microsoft. So it was a post-sales role. It was client-facing, taught me a heck of a lot, but you were general, right? You were generalist. Right. And then over time, the role changed. So in the last kind of 18 months, the role changed. Tech companies change all the time, right? So they created a completely different role. The role moved and emerged into customer success account management. And the focus was a bit more on how are we helping our customers consume across the Microsoft 3 clouds. So again, taught me a lot of exposure to customers and clients and things like that. A lot of the time you are, the face of Microsoft to all these customers, right? So a lot of the work I was doing, customer might come to me, I might be the orchestration, like, okay, you want this? Let me go and talk to this person. Or you want this? Okay, let's get you on a call with this. Or me also advising them, I think you need to do this workshop. Oh, you want to do to move something into Azure, the cloud platform. Okay, let's build a plan on how we can do that. So the role was a lot in one. It was definitely a lot, but I think for those two experiences that I had at the company, both of them were very much generalists. And I think I wanted to focus on just one thing, one product, go deep, go specialist, and I think have more of an impact than what I thought I was having in my previous two roles. So another thing about the grad scheme is that compared to other maybe traditional or typical grad schemes, it's a little different because you don't rotate, right? So there's not rotations. You don't spend 6 months in one role and then you moved on to the next role. You're in that role until you decide, you want to move out, move on. Like you've got to make it happen, right? So there's pros and cons of each. I think cons, you get to see less of the company kind of in a way, unless you choose to. And then pros, it makes you very again resilient and I think determined, and you have to go out there and make the change happen if you want it to happen, basically. So how did I get into this current role? I networked my way into this role, and I talk about networking all the time. All the time. I basically knew someone, and they said, have you looked at this part of the business? Because they've got headcount, right? That means they're basically hiring people, they've got money, So I said, okay, right, I've not considered this part of the business before. And I've been speaking to other teams. I've been speaking to other teams in other part of the business, and they didn't have headcount. So I was kind of, flogging a dead horse, as they say, right? Because you might really like a role, but if they've got no openings, then you could be waiting a long time. And I think I knew I was just very ready for a change, and I wanted to specialize in one area. So, I spoke to one of my mentors. She said, go and talk to this person. And I was thinking, I don't know about that part of the business. I don't think it's for me. I've heard these things, I just don't think it's for me. But I thought, what do I have to lose? Let me at least go and speak to this team. So, I ended up doing that, and the manager, I was like, after speaking to her, I was kind of like, oh, okay, this is an interesting role. She told me to go speak to some other people, and then, everyone was encouraging me to apply. So I was like, oh, okay, hang on, like, let me have a think about this. And then they were like, right, we're doing interviews. Like, are you ready? Like, I can get you on the interview list. I said, okay, right, well, this is happening. So I went through 3 different rounds of interviews, and then they interviewed some people externally as well. But, I ended up getting the job, which I was very happy about. And yeah, thank you. Yeah, so this is actually still new for me. I've only been enrolled for 2 months. I moved at the end of October, I think, or something like that. So still all new, but yeah, really happy and excited to be in the team and to be in a more technical team. And, I'm the youngest in the team and all of that, but I have a lot to learn from, everyone else. And I think I see the opportunity to really grow in this role. So yeah, exciting times.
Amazing.
Cool. One thing I want to throw out from what you just said, you spoke about basically networking your way into a role. And I think that's such a key tip for people, because I think, and I'm going to say this, especially kind of us Black women, we work so hard and we really excel in our roles. Like, I know lots of excellent Black women, so that's a fact. But I think sometimes we can underestimate the level at which you need to network a role. It's not all about working hard and doing a great job. There's also a networking aspect to it, and I think you really exemplified that. But yeah, anything more you'd say on that? Because I think it really is a great tip, because not everyone realizes that that's what it takes to get some roles.
Yeah, absolutely.
Honestly, I mean, I'm happy to talk about networking all day long, because it's so important. And it's really hard because in this world it's really not a meritocracy. People do work hard, but you'll see time after time it's not what you know, it's who you know, right? People say that all the time. So you need to speak to people at every point in life. Like, you can't be going about doing things alone. And this is sometimes I have to tell myself, because woman depends on Black woman, woo, girl boss, all this. But you can't be doing things alone. Like, when there are people out there who have either been where you want to be or are happy to actually just pass on this information, this knowledge, right? And at the end of the day, we're all human beings in this life together. Like, life is not here to be done alone. So it's like, go out there, start talking to people, just find out about their career, their experiences, and you never know who you can really click with. And how they might be able to support you, because, so for instance, this mentor that's helped me get this job now, I met her in, maybe the first couple of months in my role 3 years ago. And we've just continued that relationship. And it's just amazing that later on down the line, she's actually been able to help me get this role. And it wasn't the intention. I just thought, wow, this woman's really cool. Like, she very clear, like level-headed, and, I just stayed in touch with her based on that. But, it's not the people who, keep quiet that get promoted. It's the same thing. Like, you have to get out there. You have to let people know who you are. You have to speak up, because it's just part of the game. It's just part of the game. And what I was telling someone the other day is that, people talk, right, to the extent where I was in a conversation the other day, and someone literally said, oh, I've got this position open. Does anybody know anyone? Does anyone know anyone? That's the question. That might be good for this role. And it's like, are you for real? Like, you've put the job posting up there. Someone might be applying, but you're here asking people, do you know? And it's crazy because so many conversations go on behind closed doors. And, sometimes it's unfair because you won't know about a role. It might not ever be posted, but suddenly you'll see somebody get a role and it's like, how did you get this? Oh, because they were going to speak to this person, or they knew this person, or someone put them forward for this. And it's crazy. Like, so much of this is based on relationships. And, this is why I tell people, upskill, do your exams, go and do that course, that boot camp if you want to get into tech. But you also need to talk to people. You need to work on your soft skills in your interview. You need to find what common ground do you have with the person that's interviewing you, because that's what's going to help them remember you and even want you, right? So even if you don't get the job this time round, they might see another job later on down the line. And because you said you two are a Beyonce fan, right? They're like, oh, a Beyonce fan. Oh, she didn't get the job. But you know what? There's this other job that's come up 2 months later that I think she might be interested in, right? And because she's a Beyonce fan, because she's a fellow Black sister, I'm going to help her out. You know what I mean? Because people do unconsciously help people who look like them. And that's why it's not the problem in the tech industry, because it's not diverse enough. But it's all about who you know, honestly. Half the battle is you skilling up. The other half is, talking to people. So,
yeah. And another gem you just dropped there, as they say, was about your name being spoken in behind closed doors, or like, I think one of the things I'm really passionate about in terms of content creation, especially, and kind of what you might call thought leadership in terms of writing and videos, is the fact that you want to put yourself in the minds of other people so that they speak about you when you're not there. And I think it can be quite a hard thing, because you'll hear like marketing yourself and branding yourself, but all of that is kind of fancy words to say, put yourself in people's minds so they speak about you when you're not in the room. And I think that's so important, especially for Black women.
For sure. And I think it's hard to maybe go in leading with that intention. Like, I don't want people to start overthinking the situation. Like, sometimes things do need to happen organically. Like, it's not everyone that you'll be able to click with, connect with, etc. But I think it's just, trying to find that common ground with people, being genuinely interested in other people's life. Like, this is common courtesy, but not everybody has it. Ask about someone's cat, okay? So ask about their dog, their holiday. Oh, they broke their foot last week. Are they okay? It's tiny things that people honestly really do appreciate. And sometimes, we forget. So, for sure.
I definitely feel like the pandemic has definitely taught me like the importance of really caring and taking time out of work with somebody, just have interest in their own life. Like, it's funny because I see like my colleagues' cats online, like on video calls, and their dogs, and it's just like, I'm not even a huge fan of pets, but I've become a fan of like
cats, by the way.
Pets. Yeah,
I love dogs.
I'm very, I'm just like, I'm not keen on cats, I'm not keen on dogs, but I've become keen on like my colleagues' cats. I'm just like, oh, how's a cat? Where's the cat today? You know? And it's just like being personable, like showing interest, being a human being. It's just so important. So yeah, definitely understand that.
Sure.
Cool. You've given us like a nice overview of a cloud solution architect. And I know you're kind of like early stages of being into the role, but like, what would you say is the things that you're enjoying about the role and working as a cloud solution architect?
Yeah, for sure. So first of all, love my team. Like, people are so amazing. Management team as well, really cool. I think I actually really love to learn about technology. That's why my page is mainly tech focused. I've got my newsletter, I'm sharing tech news, etc. with people. Like, when I'm passionate about something, like, it doesn't feel like time is being spent learning, etc. So I think that's why it was important for me that, I want to be able to just focus on one thing, dig deep, and spend my time learning about things that, do interest me. So that's what I appreciate more in this current role as well, because I think in my last role, there was so many other things. Learning was a part of it, but you couldn't necessarily spend your time doing that. Whereas here, I can spend my whole week learning if that's what I really like. You've got a lot of flexibility here, which I really enjoy. So yeah, really enjoyed, learning. What else would I say? I think pushing myself. They say get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I think being in a position for any amount of time, you can get comfortable, right? And starting completely afresh, new team, and it's still the same company, right? But I think moving to a different department sometimes can feel like you're joining a completely new team, company, especially when you're working at a huge company, right? So I think what I've enjoyed is kind of that new experience of, kind of starting again. It can be scary at times, it can be stressful, of course, but I know I'm working to build the best version of myself, and I feel like I've not made I've made a good decision in how I can see myself growing in this role already. Like, I passed one of my first exam earlier this week in this new role, and I knew I wanted to get it done before the end of the year. My manager kind of said to me, like, just do it. She loves fail fast, she loves that term. So at least attempt it. And the fact that, I passed it your first round, I was very stressed about that. The fact that I'm already out there talking to, my customers, even though I really don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm out here talking to you, and, you're receiving it. So, I'm taking the opportunity and the chance to jump in. And I think us all being young, this is the time that we should jump in and take risks and everything like that. So that's what I'm kind of enjoying. Some days it's harder than most, but, I feel like this is a good time for me to have made this move and this change and to be going through this growth right now. So, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, absolutely loved hearing about your role and kind of the work side of things. But we want to balance it out a little bit and talk about some of the things you do outside of work. So you have a very rich outside of work life. Tell us a bit about Becoming Samantha and some of the other things that you do.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so Becoming Samantha is my baby. It's basically my platform to share my learnings, right? So my tech learnings, but also my life learnings. When I set it up, I wanted to have somewhere that I could just pass on what I would have wanted to know for, I guess, a younger me, for a persona of a younger me who might be out there, for the times that I've just been frustrated by, going through life and just thinking like, oh, why did nobody tell me this? Or like, I wish somebody could have told me this, right? And I wanted to make a kind of a collection of information or pieces of information people could go and use and, apply to their own lives, right? That's the foundation of what I wanted Becoming to be, and obviously to, build a bit of a brand for myself as well. But yeah, I started it like a couple of years ago, and I think during the pandemic, that's when I actually took it a bit more seriously. So largely at the moment, it's my Instagram page, but Becoming Samantha _ I also have TikTok, and I've got a newsletter, and I've got my site that I will eventually release. But yeah, essentially that is what becoming is. And, it's really my way of, I guess, life as I learn it, passing it on as I'm going through things in hopefully an interactive way and a manner, and taking people through, what I'm doing in my life in tech, because that's what I would have wanted to see, if I was looking into the industry and beforehand, and also taking people through life, like tech, working in tech, your job, your corporate life, whatever. It's not your whole life, right? And we are all human beings outside of our day jobs. So, I'm trying to work on being more creative some days, and trying to create songs and create digital art. I was posting on that on my page a while ago during the pandemic. Was really fun. But also just showing people the harsh reality of adulting, right? Like being in your 20s, it's hard in itself because you're still figuring out what the heck is going on. And I bought my first place in London earlier this year, and it's a goal I had for myself, and it was a humongous learning. It was definitely one of the hardest things I've ever done, and I wanted to document that, and I was like, this is fantastic. Like, this is going to be a great way. Becoming, is a great way that I can also document that. So I did a bit of content on that as well. So yeah, Becoming is basically my baby on the side, and it's amazing to be growing this community of people who are also go-getters, who are also working on becoming the best version of themselves, who have this, potentially interest in tech or otherwise, and see what happens, see where we go, where we can get to. So yeah, that's Becoming, and like I said, do a bit of singing on the side every now and then. And yeah, try to find other things that I can just be creative with. I think there's a part of me who definitely wants to go down the, maybe 3D or mixed reality route or anything like that in the future. And I don't even know if that's working in a corporate doing that, or whether that's just kind of me experimenting myself on the side. But I love the whole kind of video editing kind of side of things, and the visual effects and all of that, right? So there's also a part of my brain where I want to do that, with part of my time. So yeah, I do a range of different things, and also some mentoring on the side too.
You stay busy.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, I need a holiday. Yeah.
We all do.
I know.
Well, I think that's a lovely end to what's been a great conversation. Thank you, Samantha. It's been so great speaking with you. And I think there's just going to be so much great stuff that our listeners are going to pick up from what you've said. So thanks so much for everything you've done for them.
Yeah, and just kind of off the back of what you were saying, you're doing a lot, and I think it's important that you are able to share with the listeners where they can find you, like some of the projects you're working on, anything that you're sharing at the moment. Yeah, please do let us know. Where's the best way you can find your line?
Yeah, for sure. So definitely check out my Instagram at Becoming Samantha _ on TikTok at Becoming Samantha. I have a newsletter as well that I send out 3 times a month. One is based on tech opportunities and events and resources. One is based on tech news. So I just pick something that's going on in industry that I find interesting and share with the community. And then the other one is just like a think piece. Sometimes I'll talk about career progression. Sometimes I'll talk about how hard adulting is. Sometimes I'll talk about, the importance of networking, whatever it is that's on my mind that I feel like I need to get out there, then I'll share that. So yeah, you can sign up to that, and yeah, website will come at some point in the future too. But yeah, so that's me, and we'll wait and see what's next, what I'm going to work on next. Yeah.
We love to see it. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your journey. Thank you for opening up and sharing the places that other people can find you on, because I'm sure you're going to have loads to share in the future. Thank you.
Yeah. No worries. Thank you so much for inviting me. You girls are doing an amazing job. And yeah, I can't wait to see Sisters in Tech flourish and, hopefully see you in person at some point as well.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us today and listening to this episode of A Seat at the Tech Table. You can connect with us on our social media platforms. Just search @Sisters in Tech on Twitter and Instagram, and check out our website www.sistersin.tech to see what we've got going on. Don't forget to leave us a review on iTunes, and we'll bring you the next episode soon.